Let's do it. Second of two games in 24 hours at SoFi. They'll still be cleaning up the Eagles fans' puke by the time the Ravens and Chargers roll in there. Right now, the Chargers, how about this? What about the disrespect? How many fans are they expecting to turn out? The home team, with one fewer loss than the visitors, is catching 2.5. The total here is 50. It's a huge one for the Ravens versus the number one scoring defense. It's a high end QB matchup. It's a horrible, all of it. I feel like is good news for the Chargers. Few people talking about them, but they haven't lost in a month. No one within a touchdown of them on the scoreboard in a month. The Cincinnati game was their closest one that they've played in recent memory. I say that they do it here too. 31-27. And I'm going to say Quentin Johnson gets a touchdown. He's been doing that pretty regularly. Pays out at 2-1. Hench, how say you?
I'm going the other way. I mean, I've been really wrong on these Ravens. Lost to the Raiders. Maybe they're not that good, but I think they get this 30-20. The Chargers are nice and definitely trending in the right direction and are way ahead of schedule. If you look at what was to be expected of them this year. But Derrick Henry's not going to lose a fumble. Zay Flowers is not going to be invisible until the final, minute of the game, whatever. I think the Ravens, I mean, it's kind of do or die, like you were saying. Like, the division is slipping away and they could be dragged down into the wild card chase if they don't win this game. And I think Lamar rights the ship in this one.
The best thing they have going for them is that they survive both of those Bengals games. Because if the Bengals right now are sitting at 5-6 and the Ravens are one down, now we really got a wild stretch for the wild card. Spaghetti, how say you?
I like looking at these things. We're talking about both games being in SoFi. Get in price for Rams Eagles, $1.50. Get in price for Ravens Chargers, $64 right now. If you had to ask me,
Huh.
I'm not currently in LA right now, but I'd probably rather go to this game we're talking about right now, the Ravens Chargers game. That is strange to me here. The one thing I'm looking at is the Chargers offense only eclipsed the 30-point mark once this season. The Ravens have done that 6 times. The pass offense for the Chargers, I believe, is ranked 19th in the NFL, and like the one kryptonite of the Ravens is their pass defense. So to me, I think the difference in this game is the explosiveness of this Ravens offense, and I think the Chargers, it'll be a good game. It'll be a close-ish game, but I feel pretty comfortable taking the Ravens laying the 3 points here. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game.
Very good. And you mentioned that Eagles and Rams game. And so let's do that one now. Evocative for an old football fan like me. I'm trying to think of exactly why Eagles and Rams resonates in my brain, the two retro uniforms head to head. Either way, once again, the home team is a dog here, plus 2.5 total here. 49 Eagles, winners of 6 in a row. But the Rams playing well too, winners of 4 of their last 5. Rams finish off here at New Orleans. Then they have the Bills, and they have half their divisional games still to come at San Francisco. Then they get the Cards and the Seahawks in LA, plus the Jets. So a mixed bag, I guess. Some games that they absolutely positively should win, and they are still in play to win the NFC West, as I predicted back in August. Both are playing for something. Philly is chasing the 1 seed. Rams still in the mix for the playoffs. That is far from certain that they're getting in. Philly's just playing better than the Rams are against the run. Both teams intent on running the ball. That's why I'm going to give you the Eagles here narrowly, 27-26 in a classic. Hench, how say you?
Oh my gosh. Very, very close garage wise, although you have the Rams, you're picking the Rams essentially I'm
Finding
picking
the very
I'm saying
slim middle there.
Eagles 27, Rams 23. I think the Eagles to cover. 2 weeks ago, I think you and I both picked the Dolphins against the Rams, and Rams looked pretty bad. And then last week, Rams looked pretty good against a really bad team in the Patriots, although Drake May had a nice game. Rams moving way up in class. The Eagles really rounding into form. I don't know if Spaghetti's aware, but Saquon Barkley plays for the Eagles now. And this formula of grinding, 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 and then he pops one. I mean, it's like it just feels inevitable. Like you're like, hey, Saquon's averaging 3.1 yards a carry. Oh no, now it's 5.6. Just that he just and when he gets that seam and he's gone, and obviously the Eagles are healthy on both sides of the ball. I mean, Carter is killing guys. If you watched the Commanders trying to block him, he was inside his guy within a tenth of a second on every play, like where the guy's like, oh, I either hold him or tackle him or he's going to make a play. So Eagles trending in the right direction. Rams fine team, but they're not gonna win this game.
It's funny. I talked to Greg Rosenthal and then Eagles wonk Ross Tucker about the Jenga theory, the Jenga piece that the Eagles absolutely positively can't lose and stay as a Super Bowl contender. They both ultimately settled on AJ Brown, and I completely get it. I kind of think about maybe some guys on the back end, a key piece on the back end of their secondary in their defense. But I think you're right. It is Jalen Carter in this one, but I do think it's that largely young secondary that's got to get close to ripe. This is the biggest test that they're going to have is against Matthew Stafford at the level he's playing at, Coop, Cup, and Puka. This is the test. If they survive this one, beware, Lions, because you are not gifted an appearance in the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to be a contender going forward.
And you could argue in this game that the Eagles now have Aaron Donald, which is terrifying.
That's a funny point. Yeah, absolutely. Spaghetti, how say you here?
Yeah, we're having a lot of conversation about the stadium they're playing, and we know that SoFi is going to be predominantly Eagles fans in this game. There's really no home field advantage whatsoever, so that's a major positive for the Eagles here. Hench brought up my former running back Saquon Barkley, now part of the number one rushing offense in the NFL. So obviously,
wait. I just want to tell you because I don't know if you're all the way up to speed here. Yeah, Saquon isn't on the Giants anymore. He's on the Eagles, the rival.
I said former.
But then Jaden Daniels, it didn't quite work out, so he's on the Washington Commies. He's another division rival. But the good news is you have Tommy DeVito starting this weekend.
Tommy DeVito directing the future of the Giants for 2 seasons in a row is just. I don't even know why I'm still watching NFL football on Sundays. But so another positive for the Eagles, like I said, with the rushing offense here. And, a lot of people say like the Rams, like, oh, like Stafford, like he keeps them together, he keeps them alive. He's having a similar season to Jalen Hurts. Like they're not that far apart in yards. They're one touchdown apart. And Jalen Hurts actually, his QB rating is actually higher than Matt Stafford. So I think that's the one path to the Rams' success, I would say, is their passing offense in this game. But I think the Eagles' defensive backfield is playing a lot better. And I just feel like when you're going to control the ground game, you're going to control the clock. I think the Eagles having a home but away field advantage, I'm going to take the Eagles covering here, laying the points.
Butt advantage. Yeah, Saquon. You saw his butt fly over that NFL defender a couple of weeks ago. Clearly, they're the front runners where butts are concerned. Another big one for the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals. Formerly Kevin Hench's team soaring since he abandoned them, going into Seattle to play another bird-based mascot, the Seattle Seahawks, who are laying a point. Total is 47. Cards off the bye, Geno off the scramble in Santa Clara. A galvanizing win. I really do think so in this new era for Mike Macdonald's Seahawks there. They did turn a corner, I think, against the mighty Niners, who are in real jeopardy of missing the playoffs. I say the Seahawks win this one, 23-21. Hench, how say you?
Oh, I'm right there with you, Shek. I have the Seahawks 24, Cardinals 20. Totally agree. I mean, obviously, Mike Macdonald waiting for that defense to get healthy. I think all year we've been wondering, we're like, God, this division is so deep, and the measuring stick has always been the Niners. And now you're like, maybe the Niners, I know they're banged up, but they're just not dominant, obviously. And so talk about a division that's up for grabs. And I think the winner of this game wins that division. And I think it's going to be the Seahawks.
And keep in mind too, like the buzz was for what it matters, that the narrative is like, hey, these 49ers are in some jeopardy. They've got to take care of business. No more messing around. They're at home against the Seahawks, who they should handle. They didn't handle the Seahawks. So really, what does that say when the Niners know that their back is getting close to the
They ain't
wall?
winning this week either.
Oh,
Spoiler
we'll get to
alert.
that.
We'll get
Spaghetti.
there in a second.
This Cardinals team, it's funny when you look at their wins and losses because they beat all the teams they're probably equal to or better than, and they lose to all teams that they're like not as good as. I think this game kind of quantifies as the Seahawks are probably on their level, if not a little a tad worse. I like the Cardinals in this game. I did check the weather. It's in Seattle. It is raining. Shocker. So then I'm like, first thing you think of is, okay, well, who has the better ground game when it's going to be all wet and slippery out there and throwing may be a mess depending on the wind factor. And the Cardinals are a very, very good rushing team, and the Seahawks are 28th in the league in rushing. So I think, again, not enough points on the Seahawks side for me to want to take them at home as home dogs. I'm going to take the Cardinals here. I mean, yeah, the Cardinals laying whatever. I think they're going to win this game by at least a touchdown.
Interesting. Next, Lions, Colts. Indianapolis is the site of this game, and that's where the Colts, the home team, are plus 7.5. Total is 50.5. Both teams want to run the ball. Only four teams, though, stop the run better than Detroit does. Only four teams are worse against the run than the Colts are. Just all about, at this point, with the dominance of the Lions, it's all about asking how long can they keep this up? Are they just going to obliterate everybody that they play from here to the end of time, or at least into February? I don't know. That's not enough for me to go with the Colts here. 31-22. Lions keep on rolling. Hench, how say you?
This is getting crazy. Our garage is so snug. I got Lions 31, Colts 21.
Hmm.
The twice I've picked the Lions to win by 30, and I've been under both times. I mean, they beat the Cowboys by more than I thought they would. And then, I thought last week against the Jaguars, Mac Jones only getting 13 against the Juggernaut was the easiest line of the year. I picked the Lions to win by over 30, and I was way short.
You underestimated once
Yeah,
again the level
yeah.
of blowout. Yes.
And I mean, the good thing, when you lay points with the Lions, they're the pedals never, the pedal to the metal the whole time. 4th and 2, they're going for it. Like, it's like, give those points, and you will not be disappointed. The Juggernaut, I mean, in last week, no Laporta. Like, it's just like there's so many weapons. And again, to your T. Higgins, Puka Nacua point, I talked myself out of Jameson. Well, I didn't talk myself out of it. I went to every single fucking website. And then I forget that, like, I was in an NBA fantasy league with Matthew Berry. These guys don't know anything. I'm like, why do I go, oh, heavens, 36 out of 36 experts say start DK Metcalf.
If I hadn't looked at that dumb computer guru right before the games kicked off on Sunday, Puka Nacua would have been my starting receiver, not Quentin Johnson, and I'd be in a playoff spot in our fantasy league right now. But that's not the way it went.
Yeah. We're in the same.
I'm like Aaron Rodgers. I'm blaming other people. It's not my fault. It's that dumb computer.
Yeah, so I desperately wanted to start Jameson Williams. And then I let the gurus talk me out of it. And that was the difference in my narrow loss to a shitty team, just like you. So yeah, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery. It just never stops, and it's gonna. Now the one thing I actually woke up thinking about today is I was like, gosh, Dan Campbell has really changed the culture, obviously, but let's face it, not an X's and O's guy. And what happens when his X's and O's offensive coordinator is gone for sure this year? And then I thought to myself, I bet Brian Daboll's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions next year. That's my guess. You heard it here first. Anyway, Lions.
Very interesting. All right, Spaghetti, how say you? We got to take a drink. He's so excited.
I need to regroup after that Dayball comment that got me. That stuck me right in the side.
That's whiskey.
That Colts Jets game last week, and I know, look, Rodgers going to get the brunt of the hate, and I'm not even going to defend him anymore. I'm not necessarily waving the white flag. He's having a fine season, but it's not fun to say the headlines being the Jets defense is awful, which they have been. And I'm not really going to buy into the Colts because of what they did with the Jets defense that has not made a single meaningful stop this entire season. So I'm not buying into the Colts, and I mean, I already bought into the Lions. I believe it was a month and change ago where I said the season ended today. I'm picking the Lions in the Super Bowl. That mindset for me has not changed. Why? Because they are blowing teams out. They are scoring a ton of points, but they are good on defense as well. They are top 10 in so many categories on both sides of the ball. This is a total mismatch, and I think this is going to be a blowout. I think we're going to go back to the Anthony Richardson, should he be starting or not, because the Lions are going to make you look silly. So this will be a boring game. This game will be over by halftime. Lions win big.
You know, it's funny. We've reached the place in this NFL season, and it happens every year. And this is anecdotal, but it does feel like we know what the answer or some of the answers are to the other side of New Year's, specifically what's going to happen in the playoffs. It feels like inevitable that it's Lion Eagles, which makes it borderline inevitable that those two teams are not going to be playing in the title game against one another, right? I mean, Hench? I mean, who is the factor in the NFC if it's not those two teams? Who's going to disrupt things as I think the universe now sees it? It's got to be one of those two getting to the Super Bowl, right?
Well, if I had to pick a team to do it, it would be Matt LaFleur's Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting,
Agreed.
because I was going to
Agreed.
say the Niners, and they're pretty deep in the hole right now. But before we get to that, and speaking of disrupting assumptions and all of that, when I see Patriots and Dolphins, I'm an old man enough to know that to remember the seminal year 1985, Super Bowl 20, the parades for the 46 defense and all of that against your meager Patriots. A great story up until that Super Bowl, winning through as a wild card in the AFC playoffs. The most noteworthy element of that run was going into the Orange Bowl and vanquishing Marino the year after his all-time sophomore year. And that really, you talk about inflection points in the Super Bowl era and how we would perceive this, that, and the other. If the Dolphins get that one, I think they beat the Bears in that Super Bowl. By the way, I have a great what if coming up on Meadowlark about that. This one's going to feature Tua, and the pause button did get hit for this entire team when he went down, but they are playing pretty well since he's come back. They're laying 7.5. The total is 46. I say the Dolphins cover it. 28-19. And Hench, this is what you want. You want Drake May to be playing well, but you want the team to keep losing, so you rise up in the draft standings. How say you?
Exactly right. Drake May's interception on the final drive against the Rams, it almost looked like he understood the script. Like, hey, buddy, we want to win this game. You played
Get
great.
out of my ear, Lovey Smith. I'm doing this on purpose.
You don't want to win this game. And I think he sticks to the script this week and loses and covers. I think Dolphins 24, Pats 23. Drake May, watching the Rams, Patriots. Okay, Puka on your bench and Cooper Kupp, they catch every single ball within their catch radius. Literally, if they can get a fingertip on it, they somehow bring it in. I mean, Puka's catch, base planning in the end zone, like that level of impact and the ball, you hold on to the ball versus Drake May painting balls onto guys' chests that end up on the ground. Like the Patriots have no O-line and just the most sub-mediocre collection of receivers, and Drake May's moving the ball up and down the field, 6 consecutive games with an over 15-yard scramble. Like, I don't know where you find the records for that, but that feels like Michael Vick. The guy moves great. I mean, he has a pass rusher in his lap within a second of every play. But it's very exciting times in New England. The bummer is, even with all these losses accumulating, my draft guru buddy, Jay Yarrow, tells me there's actually not an elite left tackle in the draft. Like for the first time in forever, there's not a guy who's projected to just be an anchor on an O-line. And I was like, oh, So that's what we need, and it ain't there. But very excited about Drake May.
Yeah, I mean, that last remark about the tackle, notwithstanding, this is the conversation I've had with many Patriots fans in the last fortnight. Spaghetti, how say you?
This was the toughest game I had to decide on, which is odd considering it's kind of underwhelming of a matchup. But I do think with these defenses both being similar, and obviously the Dolphins' offense kind of their totals took a hit with no two in the lineup for quite a bit. But they're not really scoring at an insane clip. I know they look pretty good, especially Tyreek Hill last week. But I just felt like this was the game, like as Hench was talking about, that Drake May's playing very well, against all odds. And I just think this is the game where even on the road, getting the 7.5 or whatever have you in this different sports books, I think they're gonna like a backdoor coverage coming in this game. So I think Dolphins will win this game, but I think Drake May and that offense will do just enough to get this game kind of close when the clock hits zero. So I'm gonna take the Pats to cover this game, but I'm gonna have the Dolphins to win.
If the Bears kick hadn't been blocked last Sunday, I think the number would be narrower here. It's the Bears hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears are plus 3.5. Like I say, bet you it'd be more like 2.5 had they won that game. Our perception would be a little bit different. I know that this is pigskin snobbery. I'm waiting for the Vikings to kind of come back to earth a little bit. I think they survive this one 23-21. I won't be stunned if the Bears win it outright. DJ Moore coming on a little bit over 60 yards. That pays out at plus 150 if he does transcend that number. Hench, how say you?
I don't think the Vikings pulled this one out. I think the Vikings have been sort of trending toward the team we thought they were a little bit, some unimpressive victories. And, the Bears obviously should have won that game. It feels like Caleb is righted the ship a little bit. This stat is just incomprehensible to me. Okay, ready? On October 13th, Caleb Williams had 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. We're now in late November, and he has 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. How do you throw the ball that much and get neither a TD or a pick? Anyway, that changes this week. I think he throws for at least a touchdown, and the Bears beat the Vikings 20-17.
I don't think it's crazy. Just the buzz around Eberflus, none of it good, spooks me enough to say the Vikings will at least win the game. Spaghetti.
This is the game that gets Matt Eberflus fired. I think it's an in-division game. The Bears are home. It's actually an expensive ticket to get in this, and like Henry was mentioning, there was that kind of weird, like there was a stretch where Caleb was playing really well, and then since then, hearing whispers for put Tyson Bagent in, and he's losing the locker room. You cannot do that with the number 1 overall pick. People were saying in this season, there's no team that has been better, prepared, better created for a rookie quarterback to succeed, and he's not doing that. The offense has been very lackluster, and the defense has not been that bad. Plus, DeAndre Swift did not practice Wednesday, unsure about his status today. Matt Eberflus said he's pretty unsure if he's going to play or not. He is their leading rusher. I just think this is all signs pointing towards a Vikings, comfortable win here on the road in the division and against their opponent's head coach fired.
It is funny that the rumor, at least, is that it's Bagent who's perpetuating, like, hey, Caleb's losing the locker room for real. Like they say that he has an alt social media presence or something like that, trying to make that so. And he is an interesting enough cat, as is his old man, that I can't completely reject the idea out of hand there.
Guys, we have a double Bagent in our locker room.
I feel less bad now for saying that it was Beak Entertainment in Los Angeles on Sunday and Monday night now after that bad pun. All right, let's do it. One of the great rivalries, Niners, Packers in Green Bay. Green Bay laying 2.5. Total is 47. Some consternation about Jordan Love of late. I am with Dan Orlovsky and anyone else who says it. If you try to saddle your QB and make him a game manager, as it is, as the phrase goes, diminishing Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, we call them instead assassins, lethally accurate. Jordan Love skews more gunslinger, and that's a good thing. You don't want to try to bog him down if that's not who he is. Boy, this is a huge one for the Niners. How much deeper can they go? They're going to go a little bit deeper here. 24-20. The Packers get it. Hench, how say you?
Oh, same garage. I think it's even a bigger spread. I think the Packers win 30-20. Um,
Mm,
you know, the everyone kind of remembers that the obviously Chiefs Niners Super Bowl overtime, how close the Niners came to winning the Super Bowl. They came super close to losing to the Packers in the rain. Like that game, they could have lost that game very easily. This one in Green Bay, they do lose. Bosa's in a weird place because he it's like it's hard to play the week after you get hurt bad enough that you can't be on the field while your division rival is driving for the winning touchdown. Like, so I don't think Bosa's going to play. And obviously there are certain guys that really change things as the Seahawks proved. It's as Geno Smith goes down and they score a touchdown, and he did have considerably more time in the pocket and was not being pursued by 97 while Bosa was out with his oblique/hip injury. So I just think the accumulation of injuries, even with C-Mac back, he hasn't really tilted the field completely since he came back. And that Josh Jacobs is nice, and they've got weapons, and LaFleur is good. And I think that the Niners are in real trouble.
yeah, I mean, LaFleur is the essential piece. It is his clever approach. It is not about what the thing about back all the way to where we began with the Bengals. People are like, Jamar Chase, man, he's the best wide receiver in the game. Reminder, as I have pointed at for 20 years, it is not essential that you have a dominant number one if you want to make a Super Bowl run. There are other things way more important. And in fact, Nick Bosa, perhaps the Jenga piece, it sounds like, is what you're referring to him as for the Niners. Spaghetti, how say you?
Yeah, these two teams are very, very similar. Niners a little bit better in the pass, and the Packers a little bit better in the run game. Defense is very similar, but actually the Packers defense is a tick better this year. I totally agree with what Henry was saying. This could be like almost like a revenge game because it was so close in that playoff matchup. And I really think it just comes down to number one, Packers home field, the home field advantage here. And I just think even though with Kittle says he vows he's going to play this game, they are pretty banged up right now. And I just feel like the Packers are a team that I believe in this offseason, so I want to stand by that. I said they're going to win the division. I said Jordan Love was going to be MVP race. No, neither is going to come true. But I do believe in this team, and they could play spoiler to that Eagles Lions title game matchup here. So I do have the Packers winning this one at home at least by a field goal.